listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Welcome to yet again another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Coming to you live every single Tuesday night right here on all your favorite social media networks at 9 p.m. Eastern. Also catch the audio downloadable version on all your favorite podcast catcher apps on Thursday. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian. And he's busy. He's intently looking. He never says his name.
I never say my name. I don't know it anymore.
Say my name.
Call me by your name.
Oh, we went with two different movies.
Oh yeah,
on way two different ends of the spectrum.
I can't even it's not working. I can't hit it. It's not working.
Is it not?
No, this is working. I'm just saying what you all did wasn't working.
Oh, okay.
I can't hit the it's working button because it didn't work.
Now you can. It's working! He looked at me like, it's not working. Oh, it is.
No, you gave me permission, so that was a look of, well okay, you gave me permission.
Because the audio comes out of the same place.
Oh, no,
as the music.
It was working before the show started. I didn't mean the deck wasn't working. I meant what you all did didn't work.
What we were saying wasn't working.
It didn't gel together.
Yeah, you didn't like what we were saying.
Yes.
Oh, my God. This is the first time in a couple weeks we've had the camera, our sliders working. It wasn't working last week.
Yes, all the technical stuff's working.
Finally.
So far, yeah.
Every once in a while.
And then we just get a rolling blackout.
Don't say that. Don't say that. I don't have UPSs in here that are plugged up.
Goes down.
It just internet's gone. We lost it.
EMP. The AI took over.
What'll happen?
You have AT&T. I forgot.
Well, no. That's the problem. Is what will happen is we'll go like a full hour and a half, and we'll realize we haven't streamed none of this.
Oh man.
And in fact, if y'all could check real quick and make sure the stream
is
up.
Stream says we're live.
All right, we're good. Then.
It says it's going.
Rumble, YouTube, Twitter.
It ain't dead yet.
But no, the movies we were quoting, Sean, vastly different. You were doing "Call Me by Your Name."
I've never seen it.
I haven't either.
I just know it's gay.
And then
I think Timothy.
I
think Timothy Chalamet's in that.
Is he really?
Yeah.
He.
Oh yeah, because he's the kid, right?
Yeah.
Isn't he the young
boy
that the older man
Army
falls
Hammer
in love with?
Oh yeah.
He screws a peach.
Army Hammer's a weirdo.
Yep.
What is it with that? What is it with this stuff going on?
All I know is I went down a rabbit hole.
In that one in Saltburn, they screw the ground.
I mean, this is Hollywood. They just screw you.
I remember back in our day when all you had was American Pie, and he was screwing an apple pie. So that's American.
Right.
That's it.
That is.
But that was taboo.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah, that was the point.
Normal.
Was that
the whole joke of that scene was
he did something that's not
tell your mother we ate it.
Yeah,
And it's like
tell your mother we ate it all.
It's wrong.
Yeah,
it's like no anymore. It's like it's embraced.
Yeah,
Saltburn's.
Like, guess what our son did today? He stuck his penis in a pie,
filled it up.
And this is getting that little risque.
Yeah, I don't know why we went down that rabbit hole.
Hey,
mine dealt with the never-ending story,
which
is on a totally different end of the spectrum.
I think that movie's messed up too.
They look like
different ways.
Big, strong hands.
The one I hate in that movie is the bat. The bat and the guy who flies around.
That'll be remade?
I hope not. They'll make Atreyu some, and he was already Native American, I think, or they played it up.
Was.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, it kills me because that's a classic, iconic movie, just like The Labyrinth. Don't touch those. In fact, what was it? I retweeted it today. The owners, I guess, of the rights to Back to the Future, at least the written property, they basically were like, we're keeping these rights till the day we die.
Yeah.
And you're not touching them. Like, there's no chance of a remake. And I'm like, thank God.
Yeah.
I'm like, Robert Zemeckis should be,
because for a time, people were saying they wanted Tom Holland to remake it with Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Look,
and Robert Downey Jr. was going to be Doc Brown.
Come on. Just because of the Peter Parker Iron Man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, this is what I hate about.
Well, fans have and Hollywood. They have no imagination really.
it's the representation of the idea of nostalgia.
I hate that word. Just if you say representation, I
That's
just
true.
automatically don't listen to what you're saying.
And I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm right
I'm
there.
sorry.
With you.
I just don't even know what you said.
I don't blame you at all. One bit. I don't. Because the truth is, yeah, it's like
trigger word for
it's
me.
It's people who want to be so included in the nerd culture that they feel the need to revisit things from their childhood that they liked, but then they want to distort it and change it entirely. It makes no sense. I'm like, what's the point? It's not even.
And we're going to see Ghostbusters later this week.
I told Sean, it's like I thought about watching the first two and then Afterlife before we go see that, but then I'm like, but then I feel like I'm going to be very disappointed.
Right. No, and honestly, you're 9 times out of 10 you'd be correct with anything now.
Like I said, I'm not like.
And even Afterlife wasn't necessarily the best reimagining of the revisit to the series.
It was. I liked it as a send off to
Harold Ramis.
Yeah. I think it was good in that regard.
And a lot of people hated that.
It wasn't the most original, I think, as far as because again, it just goes over Gozer and all that, and that was fine. My worry with this one is that because that one didn't have a lot of like great new ideas, it was just really banking off the nostalgia of the first two. That I'm like, is this one going to be good, or is it just going to be more of look at all these references to the other movies because we don't really know how to make a good movie ourselves?
Yeah. Or is it going to be too many new ideas? See, that's another thing. I feel like sometimes they get away from what it's meant to be because they're trying to throw too much new stuff in there.
They try to subvert expectations, like Ruin Johnson.
And Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Well, they have the veneer of all the things that were part of that universe. You've got the proton packs, you've got the outfit, you've got the car, but at the same, Ecto 1. But
now we got drones with traps.
Right.
On.
Yeah. And you're just like,
Which
how?
I'm kind of like, okay, so you're going to modernize it. That's fine. Yeah. That makes sense.
It's a modern.
But again, like, how far do you go? Like, they agree the drone trap. I'm like, I could see that being a next evolution. But when you start getting so crazy, because that's what inevitably, just like Marvel, when it's like, oh, people like Guardians. Well, now we're just going to go all in and make freaking Thor: Love and Thunder where there's a dumpling god in the I'm like, okay,
stupid.
I'm like, okay, I guess just any crap that you throw at the fan, they expect like they do. They think that audiences will eat it up.
No, but they don't care.
They don't.
I mean, and that's vastly what we find out after the fact is all these people who are just like, I don't care. I didn't read the comics. I didn't read, the source material. I mean, Afterlife, I think, overall served its purpose because of the debacle that was the all-women's Ghostbusters that we got back
Answer
in
the call
2016 or whatever. And that
is what it was called.
Yeah. God awful is what it should have been called. And it tanked, thankfully, but then we get Afterlife, and you're like, okay,
it was. I
did too.
Yeah,
it was fine, but it was not like you said. This one still going in with caution.
Yeah.
Anything that has to do with an old property you're trying to revitalize,
especially because
I'm going to be cautious.
While Jason Reitman, the guy directing this one, helped write Afterlife with Jason Reitman, but Jason Reitman obviously directed Afterlife. And I've like, with that being an ode to his father, I trusted him more. It's like, yeah, this guy helped him write that script, and Jason Reitman did also co-write this script. But I'm just like, when you start handing the baton like that to directors, I hate because there's never a unified vision, and I'm like, I don't know what.
Although my hope is because Dan Aykroyd and especially Bill Murray are going to be in this movie. The way they were with Afterlife was if the script isn't good, I'm not coming back.
Yeah, but they were only in like the last 5 minutes.
I know,
of
but
that
I don't know.
movie.
I feel like they're going to be a bigger part in this movie.
The trailers make it seem that way.
They sell it that way.
Yeah.
And even some of the one-liners I've seen again, I just hope not all the best stuff is in the trailer. Yeah. But even what I've seen of Bill Murray, I'm just like, it seems okay.
Yeah.
I hope he's not a caricature of himself.
Yeah,
true.
I've actually read from some early screenings that people were upset that parts of the trailer that were in the trailer aren't in the movie, and I'm actually like, no, I actually like that.
I'm fine with that.
Because Marvel that's something Marvel used to be really good about is they'd put stuff in the trailer,
throw you off,
and then when you watch the movie, the scenes in the trailer are nothing like the movie, and I like being surprised. So I'm hoping maybe these are like the outtakes or these weren't the best jokes. This is just what we put in the trailer to entice you, and what's in the movie is even better. Hopefully, we don't know.
But it was funny because you talk about original writer or handing off the baton, and I'm like, well, we do have a headline that kind of covers that a little bit later, talking about Scream 7.
Yeah.
And Sydney's back.
And that's a little. I mean, I'm intrigued. I'm still not that, but I'm still would be cautious about that. But we can get into that.
Yeah, we'll
later.
get into that with our headline talk, and of course, Lucas coming out in support of Iger. What's that all about?
I'm not shocked by that either.
So we'll dive into that a little bit.
I really
too.
hope these people. Well, we'll get into that too.
We'll get into it. But I do have. I think we mentioned it on last week's show, so I've got to correct it. As we did not end up seeing Cabrini.
No.
We didn't get shipped a screener. Come on, Angel Studios. Red Moon Productions.
I mean, we're Christians.
Come on, yeah.
Just trying to promote your movie before Easter.
Right, exactly. We want it. We props, okay? Yeah. But no, we weren't able to get out and see it, so we ended up watching another movie that came out on Netflix. Not Spaceman, that was last week.
Mm-hmm.
Damsel. We ended up checking out Damsel, the latest from Millie Bobby Brown. Yeah, that's
the latest
right.
from Netflix.
Why did it?
That's her name,
is
Millie
it?
Bobby Brown.
Why did
Brown.
I just now connect the dots that if you just drop Millie, it's Bobby Brown?
Yes.
And oh my gosh,
Yes.
I don't know why I've said
That's
her
actually
name
they've
so many times.
They've
and
talked
just
about that
made
in before. I think they've asked her about. I don't know if like that was intentionally like she was named after him but I know people have asked her about it in interviews.
Yeah,
she's hotter than Bobby Brown. So
she's of age at least. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're not saying anything.
Oh, she's 20.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
She's 20.
I looked up Sydney Sweeney after
Can't
that.
take her for drinks yet, but
yeah.
In Britain where she's from, you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I did. I thought I was sitting here thinking, is she like a Sydney? But Sydney Sweeney's like 26. She's a full-grown woman.
Yeah. Fully grown.
Fully grown.
Yeah. Did you see? I don't know if you saw it on. I saw somebody post this thing on Facebook today that was Sydney Sweeney with John Carpenter because she was in one of the. I can't remember the name of the movie. She was in a movie that John Carpenter did, a horror movie. I can't remember what it's called.
I did see that.
She's like 8 or 10 years old.
Yeah.
She's little. Yeah.
But I had no idea, who she was then, of course. But it's it wasn't The Ring, or it was one of those kind of movies, though.
Well, I would say because I'm
obviously
trying to think of what he did other than Halloween recently. What else did John? I can't remember.
Young Sydney Sweeney with director John Carpenter on the set of The Ward.
The Ward.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was she in the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a 2010 movie, so she would have been 16 at the time.
Oh god.
She doesn't look 16 in the picture.
So weird. I was 20.
If she's 26, yeah, she looks younger than 16.
She looks very young.
He's trying to connect the dots. He's
that
math ain't math.
If you said she's 26.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It said 26.
Oh yeah, no, I did. It doesn't math because
you butchered it. You said 26.
She'd be 12.
Or she would have been 12.
Yeah. I just took off 10 years from I was thinking it was 2026, not 2024.
Yep,
so.
there you go. All right. Yeah. He's mathing now. Hey,
it's simple math.
Simple
but we got
math.
It.
That's right. I got him. All right. Let's get on to our review.
Yeah.
We got our review of Damsel. So what did we think of the Netflix original? Let's see. Here's our review.
People have been creating fantasy stories and fairy tales for as long as people have been telling stories. Some of the most common of which are fantasy-style stories of knights and dragons, and of course, damsels in distress. And while many of these exist, following the same old tropes and themes, modern generations do their best to create new tales and myths with their own twist. Netflix's latest film sets out to subvert both expectations and the traditional role of damsel in distress, in their latest film simply titled Damsel. Starring Millie Bobby Brown, who also serves as executive producer on the film, and directed by Juan Carlos Fresnadillo, whose only notable work includes 28 Weeks Later, Damsel tells the story of Elodie, portrayed by Millie Bobby Brown. Elodie is the daughter of Lord Bayford, ruler of some unmentioned country or land which is poor and destitute. In an attempt to save his people, Lord Bayford, played by Ray Winstone, betroths Elodie to Prince Henry of the Kingdom of Aria. But Aria holds a dark secret, and Elodie soon finds herself in the role of damsel, trapped and alone in a mountain cavern where she will come face to face with a dragon that has terrorized Aria for centuries. Written by Dan Mizzou, Damsel attempts to flip the typical damsel tropes on their heads, starring Brown, who has become Netflix's go-to for strong young leading woman capable of more than her male counterparts, much like Enola Holmes or even Stranger Things' Eleven. Each role Brown has played for Netflix has descended further into Mary Sue-ism. While Eleven is a well-written character whose strengths make sense, and Enola less so, Elodie in Damsel goes through no real character growth and overcomes obstacles with little to no effort. With Deus Ex Machina style writing, where some problems, such as a massive burn, finds magical solutions, making them non-issues in a short manner. Outside of the Kingdom of Aria actually having a name, there is no lore or world building either. The audience is plopped directly into a fantasy setting, with lords and queens, and given enough backstory and information to suffice the film's main plot, but ideas and attempts at layered storytelling fall apart immediately when given any thought. Add in bad dialogue and even worse delivery of said dialogue from the cast, which includes actors such as Brown, Winstone, Angela Bassett, and Robin Wright, all of whom have fantastic acting credits to their name, and there is definitely a problem with direction as much as their acting. Some credit where credit is due, production design does have its moments, though it can be hit or miss, and underwhelming considering Netflix prides itself for original content that is supposed to match or even exceed Hollywood-produced films. While special effects for the dragon itself and scenes implementing its fire breathing look great, and the overall production design acceptable, lackluster costuming, editing, and cinematography makes the film feel cheap more often than not. The movie's best moments all surround the dragon itself, from special effects to even the creature's voice acting, provided by Shohreh Aghdashloo. It felt Fresnadillo and his team gave their best efforts to the dragon, while everything else comes off as middling. Damsel has its moments, and the story itself is, while not that unique among all the fantasy stories out there, is still interesting enough to have made a decent movie. Ultimately, however, the movie never breaks away from being mediocre, instead relying solely on the idea of subverting the damsel role as being enough. Except, despite what Hollywood believes, there are plenty of stories with leading women who become the hero, many of which are so much better done than Damsel. It's a film with the shallowest message made in the most mundane way. I give Damsel 2 out of 4 stars.
Well, there you have it. 2 out of 4 stars for Damsel.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. I don't know what.
You serious, Clark?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Sometimes that's what you get with Keith.
I was laughing at the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, you gave it 2. It's not terrible.
It's still laughable.
It was.
Yeah. At times it was, yeah.
I mean, I didn't hate it. That's why I gave it 2. There are some moments like, I mean, the you pointed it out when I was doing the review, and I agreed. Like the scene with the birds on fire was cool. I was like, that was neat, and I loved. You mentioned this also, and I loved it too. I loved the way the fire looked from the dragon because they had the molten magma type.
Oh, it was kind of like lava. Yeah.
Yes, I like that. That was a cool. It looked cool, and it was a unique touch to a fantasy story. But then it's like you get those pieces throughout the movie.
Yeah.
And the story and the acting and the writing and everything else is garbage.
And it's weird because even highlighting some of those positives are not highlights throughout the whole film. Like they don't represent the special effects or the production design throughout the entirety of the film, just in those moments. Because for the most part, it's all very basic, humdrum, like you've seen it before, and nothing is to an elaborate extent. I mean, again, the world building is awful.
There is no world
none.
building. Her country didn't even have a name. I looked it up on the... I was!
and it's weird. I think they intentionally did that.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it didn't play off well.
She's like, our people are poor and starving, and then you don't even get to know anything about the poor and starving. It's like
we just all you know is they're going back there with a dragon.
Yeah,
that's it.
And I'm sure that's going to scare the hell out of the poor and starving people of her country.
Right.
Yeah.
But no, it's also funny
what
too.
What purpose that served, I have no idea.
Well, because then you got that awesome shot of all the because remember the dragon's a female too.
Oh, I
so
know.
all the badass women were
on the boat.
Yeah. They're like, we're mighty.
Now I will say the voice of the dragon.
Yeah.
And like how the dragon is used in the film, I liked, except for the parts where they do stupid crap, which MacGuffins of, we got to find a way for her to not die.
Yeah,
and it's literally there's a scene where the dragon turns away, and I'm just like, why wouldn't you kill her now and then go kill the thing you're chasing? Like, it didn't make any sense.
Oh, there were so many parts in the movie that really annoyed me when I'm like, that dragon could kill her like instantly, and like she just runs from it, and the dragon's just like, okay, I guess I'll
come back later.
Yeah, like, I'll let you.
Right.
I told him
See
there's
if you're
like
still
several
there.
scenes where she crawls in like a little hole and is hiding, and I'm like, all the dragon has to do is blow fire in there, and she's dead. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, well,
But maybe then the dragon wouldn't have the satisfaction.
yeah, but then they show dead bodies in all these crevices, so I'm like, obviously the dragon killed
That was
them.
the biggest problem or plot problem of this movie was the map. On the wall.
Yeah.
Like,
It was terrible.
How did they even draw it if the one they didn't escape or they died?
Yeah, she goes, well, she makes it very clear that V, or Victoria, is the one who made it to the sunroom or the way out. And it's like she signed it with her initials.
Yeah.
So if she got up there and then she finds her body,
She come back down?
Then how does she come back down and draw the way
map.
out?
Yeah.
So,
It just makes no sense at all.
No, I
I'm
agree.
like, that was just stupid.
No, a lot of it, like I told, there's a lot of, and I mentioned in the room, there's a lot of like things they try to add like that to make it seem like it's layered. Like, oh, then there's this and there's this, but then when you start thinking about
Well,
it,
they
I'm
even-
like, not like I'm like that wouldn't work
they
at all.
even
It's
tried to
horrible.
correlate that with like one scene where she draws a maze, and then of course it's her and the prince talking. And they're
with
getting
the
to know
heart-
each
the
other.
heart,
And
yeah.
she's like, it was something I just always did when I was younger, and like, so you're thinking, okay, are they going to build this up to like
because she's good at mazes, so she could figure out the cave.
exactly,
I'm like, you guys are,
genius.
they got smart writers.
It would have made more sense for her to be the one mapping the cave.
Yeah. Right.
If she's good at it, then it would have been great to have her
That's-
doing that.
That's good
Almost-
writing, Sean. They weren't going for that.
Well, and even her being a heroine and possibly going back down and drawing it for someone else, but of course that would defeat the purpose of.
True.
They end the film with
She goes right back down for her sister,
right.
who both miraculously survived this fall
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's
with no broken bones or
there,
nothing.
and even the like journey through the cave. I told Keith, I was like, I'm glad it wasn't longer, but there were so many parts of the film because there's so much in it. I mean, it's weird. There's so much in the movie, but so much of it is hollow and empty.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of filler to make it seem like there's depth.
There's
but
a lot of
not.
pointlessness.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the basic, you can tell exactly what the three acts of the film are. And even as like plainly told as those three acts are, they're done like horribly. They're messy. I mean, the dialogue's atrocious.
Oh, yeah.
From the moment, I mean, what's her name? I've never seen her in anything
Angela
more wretched. Angela
Bassett.
Bassett.
Yeah, she was awful.
Terrible in this. She overacted the royal like pomp and circumstance role. This is incredible.
Yeah.
Exquisite.
It was awful.
And like she kept using
Yeah.
all of these like all these descriptors.
Your
and,
taste is impeccable.
right. And it was just like, and finally even Robin Wright
She's
kind of
like,
looks
"What do
at
you
her.
want?"
She's like, what do you want?
Yeah.
And I was like, thank you. I was
Yeah.
thinking the same thing.
I thought like the whole time I was watching Angela Bassett, I kept thinking of the Oscars where they made the joke about Angela Bassett's such a great actress that she even got nominated for a Marvel movie. And I'm like, well, she's not getting nominated
Wow.
for this
Yeah.
movie because she was awful.
And I can at least say that, yeah, she was better in Black Panther than this. Easily.
But I just think it was funny how much they were like talking about how amazing she was at the Oscars, and then I watched this movie and I'm like, yeah, I don't know which version you all saw, but
I think the only dialogue in the movie that I thought was pleasing at all was between her and the prince when they're kind of getting to know each other and walking and riding horses and all that. And I was like, that's great, but then it sets it up. I don't know.
I thought it was good. It was better, but I still thought it was a little cliche, like how they handled some of it. And as soon as he starts talking about wanting to travel too, I was like, well, he's gonna betray her. Like, I could see it. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, and that's what I hated too. Is
Yeah.
there was no redemptive quality for any of them, for any of the men. I mean, even the father. I'm
all
like
idiots, really.
The moment that he walks out of the meeting at first with
And
the
knows,
queen,
yeah.
and he knows what's up, and he won't tell
Yeah.
the stepmother or Angela Bassett's character. I'm just like, okay, this is something bad. I don't know what it is. Oh well. Then you get to the point in the movie where you realize what's going on, and you're like, her dad
Yeah.
Like sold her, knew she was going to be thrown
to do it for
off
the good of the kingdom,
and sacrificed. Like this is just sick.
He has a whole country he has to protect.
You're supposed to somehow come back together at the end and feel sorry for him, or he asked for forgiveness. It was dumb.
But I mean, he had to die. It was like, he has to die. He's not redeemable.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. Is I'm like, but they try to make him redeemable, and in that instance, I'm just like, one, he's not, and two. You could have made it to where, why would she even tell him that's what he's signing up for? Why wouldn't, because no father in his right mind would willingly do that. That's why I'm like, if anything, it would make her look even more evil if she just coaxed him into it and he had no clue.
It's like, why wouldn't you trick them? Because I mean, she even tells Angela Bassett, it's like, we're not a family. Like we need a princess and you need money.
Right.
So get on your, like, so it's like, obviously once she got what she wanted, like why would she need him to tell him what? It's just like, oh, we're going to give you all this money for your kingdom, right? Because and then once he's gone, you go feed her to the dragon.
Yeah, I just there were just so many different instances. I mean, even from like I was saying, in all three of the acts, by the time the movie ended, it was like, okay, I wish things would have been more flushed out, but at the same time, the things they chose to focus on, like even her going through the cave, was so instant. Like the way she makes her escape and gets from obstacle to obstacle, it's like they're not even obstacles.
No,
like they spend,
not for her, they're not
right.
Yeah. Everything she needs, she just
she's suddenly Arnold Schwarzenegger,
right? She knows how to survive it.
That's right, and she had glowworms.
Like that was the thing.
Survive without those.
Yeah, there was no.
That magically heal you.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
There's no impending doom. Like there was just never a chance where I thought, oh, she's really at odds here and could die.
Well, every time she comes into something that should be a problem or an obstacle, like a magical, like, and I don't mean like, because it's a fantasy movie, a magical solution could happen, but even outside, it's like the solution just appears and she's able to overcome it immediately. There is no struggle. There is no lesson.
All right, y'all are gonna call me crazy. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just getting into the this trope of like like female heroine and how they hype her up as being amazing, but she comes off as a Mary Sue, like people claimed of like Rey and Star Wars, because again they don't earn anything and they always act like these are like this huge thing, like, oh look, Millie Bobby Brown's this damsel and we're subverting expectations because she's not in distress. She's a powerful girl figure and nobody's ever seen that. But I mean, I mentioned during the reviews Frozen, when like the prince is the villain and the heroines are the heroes. Or even if you go back when people joked on, like you mentioned Jennifer Lawrence for saying she was the first ever female action hero. Yet you had Sigourney Weaver, you have Linda Hamilton. It's like we've seen strong.
I mean, Leia. Talk about Rey. I mean, freaking Princess Leia.
But I mean, you have strong women. You have leading women who have been in action movies. And it's like, it's kind of a slap in their faces, I feel like, when you act like this is something like revolutionary when it's pathetic. Like, I mean, Sigourney Weaver would take her out in 10 seconds if this was like in Aliens. Like, Millie Bobby Brown would stand no chance.
Well, just because she's annoying and gets on her nerves, that she'd just be like, bye.
Get away from her, you bitch. That's what she would say.
Yes. You're going to call me crazy, and y'all can make fun of me, and I don't mind.
Okay.
Make fun of me. I couldn't help but compare it to this movie. Damsel to this movie because I just watched it recently because it was just an old classic that I hadn't seen in a while, and I thought I'm gonna turn it on. So I watched Air Bud.
That is not where I thought you were going.
Exactly. And the reason why I want to compare it is because the first thought in my head, can't believe
Air Bud.
I'm just like,
oh well,
I have thoughts, but I can't say
I don't know why you were watching Air Bud.
I like Air Bud.
Air Bud's great.
I watch it with my kids, but not alone as a 40-year-old man.
The first movie's a good movie.
I'm not 40. I'm 30.
I know you are, but I'm just pointing out the fact that the only time I've seen it ever is with my kids.
I've got a soft spot for dog movies.
My Dog Skip's a great movie
was
too.
the first movie ever that made me cry.
But the first Air Bud's a legit good movie.
That's
they didn't
what
get
I'm saying.
stupid until all the sequels.
Yeah. Okay. And of course it does err on the side of like, this is kind of ridiculous and unbelievable.
So,
but
how does it compare?
Okay, so the reason why it only really compares in terms of, look, when you start watching Air Bud, the first thought is, I already know how this is going to play out. I know there's this dog who's going to play basketball. And that he's going to be the savior for this kid's life. Okay. It's the basic plot is set up from the very beginning, but it's like moments of turmoil throughout the film.
Yeah, Mr. Noodle tries to take him back.
Yes, the fact that he comes in and he's got papers and he's going to take the dog, then the kid goes and sets him free, but he realizes that Mr. Noodle is going to come. The clown is going to come. I don't know.
Mr. Noodle's who he plays in
Free Willy too. It sounds just like Free Willy.
Okay, but the thing is I'm just saying Mr. Noodle.
And he played Mr. Noodle in Elmo's World on Sesame Street. I don't know his name in Air Bud.
He's just the clown.
Yeah.
He plays the clown in the. But so he basically knows he's going to come back and try to steal the dog again, even though he got him free. So then all of a sudden he's taken Air Bud out, and he's like, well, his name's Buddy. He's like, Buddy. Yeah. He's like, I don't want you to be taken away from me, but I want you to be free from this bad guy. And he tells Buddy to like go.
He does the stereotypical get out of here. I don't want you anymore.
Yeah. I'm telling you,
You've
man.
seen that in all the animal movies.
But it's so good because I'm like immediately the shift of the movie, because you're thinking I thought immediately, I was like, modern day, he would have broke the dog out of there. They would have run back, and somehow there would have been some scheme where this, the clown gets taken into custody or something. Or
it ends with a face-off of choose who you want to be with.
Right.
Man, that tugs
I'm getting
like you get to pick. Oh, sorry.
But no. But the thing is, all of this is I'm sitting here and I'm like, you could have taken a very simple plot, but they add enough in the movie to where you're intrigued of how the story's going to play out. This is something that is lost in modern day filmmaking. No point in this film did I have second guesses as to how this was going to play out.
Oh, yeah.
From start to finish, I immediately knew every obstacle she was going to face, she was going to overcome it. I knew somehow the dragon, and even the twist of why you find out why it's killing these daughters of this certain kingdom wasn't really a twist. It was kind of a thrown in there to, again, showcase some kind of plot element of like, oh, look, we're deep. And it doesn't, it's a mile wide and an inch deep. It's not deep at all. So I'm just, like, to be able to have watched that movie, Air Bud, juxtaposed with this one, and I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I don't even know if Air Bud came out in theaters. It did. Okay.
The first one.
All the other ones
only the
were
first
straight to VHS.
Well, and that's what I thought too. I thought that was one of those that would have been a straight to VHS.
I saw it at Kenwood Drive-In. It was awesome.
Oh,
really?
My gosh.
Yeah.
And it's a good kids movie. It really is.
I know. We've watched it. We've watched Space Buds. We watched all of them.
Now those are
bad.
straight.
Yeah.
The moment the dogs are going to space, it's
There's
a little
problem.
It's a little far-fetched.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Okay.
But no, I really did. I just, because it was the most recent movie. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, how in the world does this movie about something goofy as a dog playing on a kid's basketball team end up being more not only meaningful and have more emotion baked in it, but even more depth in terms of its messages and even its plot structure
than Damsel.
Damsel and 2024 modern
movies,
heroine, type film like with Millie Bobby Brown. I'm just like, come on, this is just god awful. So that's how it compared to me.
Okay,
that's how it compared.
That's interesting.
That was it.
I like it.
All right. I don't know if that made any sense.
I get fully where you're going with it.
Even if it didn't, you're basically saying Air Bud was a better movie, and I can agree with that.
It was.
Yeah.
Far better. I would give Air Bud 3.5 out of 4 stars.
I don't know about that.
I would say 3.
Yeah, I would give it 3.
Like I said, I have a soft spot for dog movies.
We gonna see the new Mark Wahlberg dog movie?
Actually, it's already out.
She's already in the trash.
Oh my god!
Speaking of dogs,
you got to remember put it up, man.
I don't even know what she's chewing on.
I don't want to see it enough that I'd go to theaters to see it, but I'll probably check it out when it's available.
Hey, buddy.
Dog was good. I wish I would have saw that in theaters.
Dog actually,
that ended up being a good movie.
That was one that when I saw the trailer, I was like, I'm not watching that, and then it was a good movie.
Yeah.
Is that about the vet?
That's the Channing.
Yeah, that was
Tatum.
the Channing Tatum one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I did see that.
Yeah, he's a veteran, and the dog is.
It's actually you would like that one if you like
good.
The dog.
I don't know, man.
My favorite was always
Homeward
Homeward Bound.
Yeah.
I love
Homeward Bound's good.
I watched that. I may go home and watch that one.
I need to rewatch
Peter. You're my boy, Peter.
I was like, I missed you so.
Yes, I love it.
Peter,
Shadow.
I missed you so.
Hey, Michael J. Fox plays.
Man, that music,
Shadow.
man.
Yeah.
That theme.
Sally
the theme
Fields.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's a great.
Michael J. Fox was Chance.
I'm trying to think who did
Chance.
the.
Yeah. Shadow's the old.
Who did the?
I forget who is Shadow.
He was in the Sasquatch movie.
Harry and the Hendersons.
Harry and the Hendersons, yeah.
He's not
He's
John Lithgow.
No, he's the old man that hunts that's the Bigfoot.
Oh, I don't know
researcher.
him. Sadly, I'm not sure. I don't know the cast in that movie.
Can't think of his name.
Don Amish was Shadow.
Yeah, let me see his picture.
Well, that they have an old one.
There he is.
Here, hold him up. Hold it up for the viewers.
Okay. Well, here's the young and old right there. So
it's weird. He kind of looks like Vincent Price a little bit on the.
He's got a good voice.
Actually, I have seen him in some. He died in '99. Dang.
Yeah, 93. He died in 93.
No, long time ago.
Well, he was born in 1908. So
he was in Batteries
Homeward
Not
Bound
Included. Or no, he was in Cocoon.
Oh,
he was in the movie Cocoon.
He was in Cocoon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Homeward Bound is, I think, like literally the last thing he was ever, because that came out in 93.
So he literally sounded like death in the movie because he was dying.
He was literally dying. Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense then. All right.
That's why that performance was so good, man.
I need to rewatch it because look, I can only watch so many of the heartbreaking pet movies. I'm not gonna lie. It's like,
but it has a happy ending.
Like Air Bud
it tricks you into thinking it's going to be heartbreaking.
My dog Skip doesn't.
That one's sad. That one's sad.
And not in a bad way. I
No.
mean, he's a good pup, tried and true throughout. But yet, and he goes through some rocky turns, but he still lives a long life.
Yeah.
But man,
you're about to cry right now.
When Kevin Bacon comes in and lifts him up on the bed at the end, and you're just, oh gosh, and then
Kevin Bacon's in that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've
and
never
Diane
seen
Lane.
it. I've never seen
Kevin
My
Bacon
Dog
and
Skip.
Diane Lane are in it.
What's his name from Malcolm in the Middle?
Franken Muniz.
Yeah, he was the kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then it's like he in the narration comes on at the end. He's like, "Got a call from Dad. Skip died." I'm like, "Oh man, it's done in this kind of southern drawl and so like, and the last shot
Just spoiled it. Just spoiled the movie.
Well, it's 97 was when that came out. 98. I don't know.
He could have had a chance to watch it. Now there's just
I already
no point.
said Skip died.
Yeah.
I mean, dogs.
You said it had a sad ending. You didn't say he died. Maybe he just, got hurt really bad. It's like George of the Jungle.
We got to move on. You got names.
Start talking about Damsel. Start talking about dog
I think we're done talking about Damsel. We can probably move on to the headlines now.
We can get it in our headlines.
I think we can go to the headlines.
Man. That's why I got to clip the segments of the show. I mean, that whole thing would just be like, you had no clue if you tuned into the whole show unless that segment. You'd be like, where does this fit? Yeah. It's like, it doesn't fit anywhere. We just went on a dog movie tangent.
Shiloh.
Yeah, that's it.
Just start throwing them out there.
I mean, it's like saying Old Yeller. I mean, he dies.
Yeah.
And that one's a sad one.
That
man.
one is sad.
That was 2000.
Yeah. Old Yeller's depressing.
Yeah, it is.
I watched it like a few times as a kid, and then it got to a point where we still talking about this too much.
I think that's it too. When you're watching like something like Air Bud, and then you look down at your pup, and you're just like I kind of looked at her and I was like,
"You want to go play basketball?"
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
I was like, if I throw a basketball at you right now, would
you catch it?
Yeah.
Would you play? She would. She would be able to.
My dog likes soccer, so
nice.
I don't know what the title of that movie would be.
That's Air Bud 4.
Maybe
he plays soccer.
In the second one, he played football because it was called Air Bud the Golden instead of Golden
Receiver.
Yeah, it was the Golden Receiver.
What?
Yeah. Yes. Instead of Golden Retriever, it was Air Bud the Golden Receiver.
I'm done talking about dogs. I promise. All right, let's talk about our. I'm gonna start with the second headline we teased first. Which happens to be that. Oh nope, that's not it. I pumped it up.
No.
It's the low. We're gonna go from bottom to top.
Oh, that makes sense.
Neve Campbell returning in Scream 7.
Yeah, she is.
Nothing more to say really, other than that. And we also got another little surprise, which is the original writer of Scream 2 and 4.
All of them.
All of them?
Not the new ones. All the ones that Wes Craven made, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Kevin Williamson, he's always been a partner with Wes Craven on all those movies. He co-wrote and co-produced, and then of course Wes Craven wrote, produced, and directed. But from the very beginning, it was kind of a mutual conception between the two of them. So, and he did executive produce the last two, but he didn't. He wasn't involved as like the writing and that type of stuff. So I'm just like, I don't know, because still he served as producer of the other two, but I think that may have just been him throwing money. With him coming back to write and direct, I'm like, I'm intrigued. I mean, I'm still not hopeful because it's a franchise that needs to go away. But
well, and especially after the fallout of knowing their plans with, I always forget her name. I remember Jenna Ortega's, but
that's because she's the more famous of the
Barrera?
two. Yes, something. Michelle.
No,
it begins with an M. I thought.
Yeah, it's an M, but
I'm pulling it up.
But the thing is ever since the fallout between those two actresses and not coming back to finish up that storyline, they were at least starting to wrap up.
I think if they were smart, they would have her come back and not tell anybody and make her the killer since she was going crazy in the last
That would
two.
be legit.
It's like you don't tell nobody, but then it's like, oh, she went full psycho.
If they broke the fourth wall in that regard and came up
Melissa
with
Barrera. I said Michelle, but Melissa Barrera. Yeah.
Because,
like,
that would be good.
Let her go down the full path of her dad, Skeet Ulrich, and like snap and become the killer for the last one or something.
Keeler.
He's the killer. He can killer.
I would agree, though. That would be actually smart. That would be a smart thing
better
to
writing
do.
Better writing
It's
than
not going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I'll be shocked, but...
But that would be cool to keep it buried, dead and buried.
No! Oh!
I mean, but I ultimately, I'm cautiously optimistic to see how they turn it. I don't know why they're going to call it Scream 7. If anything, this seems like a reboot.
Well,
after the reboots they've
but
already
it's still a
done.
continuation of the story. Like it's not starting it's not starting a whole new story. If Sidney Prescott's coming back, it's still a continuation of her story. So it's not really. It's like it would be like a requel, like
the
a reboot
weird thing
sequel.
is how are they going to address what happens? I mean, everybody survived at the end of the 7th or 6th.
Well, they could still have the other two
survived.
character or like the two from the other movies
That's
in there.
dumb.
They just have to explain what happened to.
They're not the
Glad
main
you all
character.
remember what happened because I don't remember anything after Scream 2. Like I don't remember
I'm
any
just,
of those
you
movies.
know,
We
I
just went and
say-
saw one a couple years ago. And I don't remember anything about it.
Scream 5. We went and saw Scream 5.
Yeah,
Because we Scream 4 was the one with the social media. We didn't
6 was the last one that
We saw 6.
Yeah,
No,
5 and 6 were the
I
last
didn't
two.
see that with you all though. I watched a screener of that.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I didn't see that
Because
with
we
you all.
reviewed both of them.
Right.
Yeah.
But I didn't see that one in theaters.
yeah,
I had to watch a
But yeah,
screener of
5
that.
and 6 were the two with the new storyline, the whole requel
Right.
thing, and yeah. I don't know. Just act like they didn't happen, or be clever and be like, "Oh, that's some other like movie within a movie thing we've already done before." I don't know.
But I mean, Sean, even if you don't know, that's honestly why I thought maybe with bringing her back and the original writers / with him directing, I honestly thought they were gonna try to do a soft reboot.
Oh yeah,
By
I thought Neve
wrapping
Campbell
up.
came back for one of the other later
She
movies.
was in 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, she just didn't come back for 6 because they wouldn't pay her enough. And
Right.
then when everything fell through, they were like, "Okay, we'll pay you now."
It's like, oh, we ain't gotta pay that Jenna Ortega Wednesday money, so we'll pay the Sidney Prescott from Scream 1 through 5.
Yeah.
Because she was in all of them up to that point.
She
right?
was in all of them, everyone but 6.
Yeah.
That was the only one, and they just had Courtney Cox have a throwaway line about she's earned her happy ending. Don't bother her.
And,
like,
and
you
even
know,
though it was a
so.
throwaway line, I actually was kind of like, okay, that's fine.
I was fine with
Because
that.
then I was also upset that they brought her back after they killed Dewey in the 5th one.
Honestly,
Yeah.
if we're going to scrap it all, I say bring
Stupid.
David Arquette back. It's like just ignore the last two, bring him back. Then I'm sold.
can't- you
I mean,
can't.
Yeah, the killer never dies, so he doesn't either.
he's died in every movie and come back. I know they tried to make it like the permanent thing by going, but I'm just like, just make some BS up and bring him back. I don't care.
That is true. The moment that and
He
then
got the
I
Braveheart
wanna-
death is what I call it.
yeah.
What is the Braveheart?
The Braveheart death.
What is that?
Where they
They gut, like,
you,
straight
like,
up.
all,
Yeah.
all the way
Yeah.
through. Yeah.
Yep.
And again, they only did that because they wanted to prove that this time it was
We
permanent.
mean it
Right.
this time.
Yeah.
I honestly, all I want is just to be like you're in the middle of the movie and off screen it says.
Yes.
And you're like, he's back! Oh my god! One of the worst themes, but one of the best themes.
Well, it fits him perfect.
It does.
To be fair, because that theme is like an old Western. They didn't write
It's
it
in
for
other
Scream.
movies too,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah.
It is?
Yes.
Yeah, it's in.
I did not know
it's
that.
It's in Face Off. They
What?
use it in Face Off.
It's like an old Western standoff, like just generic. That
I
yeah.
had no freaking
Yeah.
And they
clue.
Yeah.
chose it specifically because it kind of fits like the tone of who
Yeah.
Dewey
Y'all are
is.
blowing my mind
Yeah,
right now.
yeah,
I
yeah.
had no freaking clue. All right, well, we're cautiously optimistic, but we'll see what happens whenever it comes to
It's
fruition.
like every other franchise film this day. I'm like, I go in thinking that it probably isn't going to be good.
Agreed. Agreed.
We'll find out Thursday night.
Yeah, that's true. That's our next one. But our other big news of a casting of a sort is Aaron Taylor Johnson is set to be the next Bond.
Anya
Well, he's
Taylor-Joy.
been offered. Yeah, I saw that too, and I'm like, nobody's really. No, I feel like that's one of those things that was like a joke on the internet that these like outlets got hold of, and like people really think they hired Anya Taylor-Joy. It's like, no, you're being fooled by internet trolls again because you're the
Yes.
idiot media.
Dumb.
But no, I like that casting. I thought he was one of the few. Like there was a couple they had mentioned before, and he was in there.
Well,
that I was like, I could see that.
And Sean, I know you were heavily pulling for Henry Cavill. You would have liked to have seen him. No, I thought you were.
No, I think he's too big.
Okay,
I mean,
agree.
I'm just being honest. I think he's too beefy. Yeah,
that's how I feel about him as Wolverine. Like he's too massive. Like Wolverine's muscular, but he's not
but Hugh
a big
Jackman
guy.
is taller and he's just as big.
He's too big to be. I want a more comic book accurate Wolverine.
Yes. And that's where I actually think Daniel Radcliffe could pull it off.
Yeah, he's a short guy.
Wolverine's
Wolverine's only 5'3" in the
I've seen
comics.
fan makeups of Daniel Radcliffe as Wolverine, and it looks sick.
I thought you were talking about as Bond.
No.
Hell no.
Daniel
switched over
Radcliffe
to
has
Wolverine.
gotten ripped, and a lot of people have wondered if he was doing that, getting
For
shredded
Wolverine,
to get ready for a role like that. And but he's shredded and like got his hair up and grown a beard, and it looks like he could be.
What about Zac Efron?
As Wolverine?
Yeah.
Nah.
He's short.
He is short.
But I mean, stocky. And if
I'm not going to say he couldn't pull it off.
Yeah.
I just don't know if I want that or not.
That's how I feel.
He's a good actor.
He actually does have the right build,
He's
and he
got
is a
the
good
build,
actor.
yeah.
So I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's again, when I hear Zac Efron as Wolverine,
He's actually
there's
got
like a trigger in my
I don't know
mind.
if you've ever
that's
noticed or
unnatural.
not, but Efron's got these like unusually long arms. Like his build, his arms are long, and I'm just thinking, dude, with the claws on the end of those things.
See,
that would
Sean's
be-
gonna sell me on it, and
He's
I'm over
got-
here,
Yeah.
like no, but I'm like,
I just think even if you added the chops on like his
Chops and a
sideburns
cigar in his mouth, I think he could
see
pull it
him
off.
having the rugged, like
I'm kind of too.
stoic, kind of quiet, facade and
Yeah.
feel.
man. And everybody
But
would
yes.
think we're crazy, though. You say Zac Efron as
Yeah.
Wolverine, and people be like,
No,
I
I'm
don't,
just-
because everybody thinks of him as like High School Musical.
I would have
But
never
he's
thought
more
of
than
him. I
that
wouldn't have
now.
never thought of him as a wrestler.
Dude,
but I thought he did the wrestling
yeah.
thing
Yes.
great.
And honestly, the
Yes.
reason why I would be convinced on them kind of doing something with the height is I think of that movie, and I'm like, even with the scenes of him in the ring, they don't make him look too short or too
Yeah.
small. I mean, like they do a good job of it.
But
Yeah.
and I mean, not as good, I think, as Zac Efron, but a lot of people like made fun of Robert Pattinson as Batman because of Twilight. But then when it happened,
Yeah.
the people were like, "Oh no,
They made it
he's-
work.
Yeah, so
made it work well.
maybe?
No, I think Aaron Taylor-Joy or Johnson. Goodness, see, I've got
did
that.
it.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. After watching Bullet Train, and I mean, even this article kind of goes into that movie
Yeah.
and some of his past roles. But after that movie, which I didn't know he was British, or I didn't know he had a British accent.
Oh yeah.
So every other film he's done, he's
He
used
has
an
an
American
American.
accent. So when I heard him in Bullet Train and just saw his capability in terms of an action movie and following the choreography and all that stuff, I was thinking that he could be a pretty sweet Bond.
Well, and it's weird too because I'm on the same page. To me, one, it makes sense what they were going for is they wanted somebody who could at least commit to the role for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And that
He's
makes
young
sense.
enough
And
to
he's young enough to
go.
do it. But also, in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking of the ones they mentioned as possibilities, like a Henry Cavill or Idris Elba was thrown out there for a
Yeah.
while. I like the fact that this is somebody who's relatively unknown. I mean,
Yes.
if you
Yeah.
mostly think of, I mean, even Daniel Craig became a household name because of
of
Bond.
Bond. Yeah.
And this guy, I think, is now going to become a household name because of Bond. And I think if they want Bond, they want the character to be bigger than the actor.
Yes.
And I think that's a perfect way to go about it.
Yeah.
He's known enough that people accept him, but he doesn't have he's not someone like Henry Cavill who's a part of so many. That's one thing. Even when you sent the article about Henry Cavill as a possible Wolverine variant in Deadpool,
It's all but confirmed now.
I love Henry Cavill and I love I think he's been perfect for most of the roles he has taken on. But it gets to a point sometimes where I'm like, okay, I want to see someone else. I don't want you to be in every franchise.
Right.
I feel that way about Pedro Pascal. I feel like he's and granted, I would take Henry Cavill over Pedro Pascal because at least, like I said, Henry Cavill, I feel like the roles he's taken, he matches and fits really well. I'm just like, as soon as I heard Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, I rolled my eyes. I'm like, he is.
Yeah.
He does not.
He's tapped into everything.
Yes. Yeah.
It feels
Yes.
like, and it's become
But yeah, I agree with Aaron Taylor Johnson. I'm like, I'm glad it's somebody who isn't a part of 5 other franchises.
It's like the movies he's been in are good movies, but they're not
even
Kick-Ass and those kind of movies.
even him
it's not,
playing in the Marvel. He was
he was Quicksilver.
Yeah.
But it's like most people don't remember him.
Yeah,
no,
Godzilla. He was in the first Godzilla.
That's right.
Movie.
Yep.
And
he has what I like about him is not only does he have the physicality, he can do the action, but he also has the frame and the build and the look to be suaver than Daniel Craig's was. Daniel Craig had the he could get the chicks, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I feel like he doesn't have like the same type of like smooth, suave nature.
He was
that
an older
Connery
had.
Yeah, more of a Connery.
See, that's where that's another thing I think Henry Cavill would lack.
Yeah.
Like I just don't. I don't think a guy that big in a suit that's barely able to fit could sell the whole like. Just the suave. Yeah.
They kind of tried it in Argyle. And
in the Mission Impossible movie.
And I would say while it was kind of done specifically intentionally over the top in Argyle, but it didn't come off well.
The closest I would say was the man from Uncle, but even that I was just because a lot of people use that as an example for why he would be a good Bond. But I like this casting. I do.
I do too. I'm interested to see. I mean, now the bigger stakes are on the story and what they do with the character. We know it's getting a reboot, as all James Bonds do when they hire a new one. Yeah. But how is this Bond's story going to be told? Yeah. So, well, we're in. We're apparently filming is set to start this year.
Oh wow! I didn't even know they had a script ready.
They said that once he signed on the dotted line and accepted, which his agent said his intention was as soon as they got the contract to him, which apparently was this morning, he was going to sign it, and their filming was set
I
to
knew
start
they said they gave
year.
him the offer, but it wasn't really official yet because they hadn't had a signature.
Right. But if
it is official, just not on paper.
And his agents have said that he's
intending to sign.
Yeah.
And so later in the article, it specifically mentions, with filming slated to begin later this year. I'm like, holy crap.
Also uses the word reinvent.
Yeah,
it says they want to reinvent the franchise,
and that could be good or bad. But when it's Hollywood, you can't. I can't trust when you hear.
Because I'll be honest,
yeah.
Other than just. Again, Daniel Craig being because he was the
that was
longest...
a reinvention of Bond, really.
It was
because Bond hadn't been like that kind of rough around the edges until Daniel Craig.
But even with that, he was the longest reigning Bond, right? As far as many years as he played it,
maybe in years, but he definitely doesn't have as many movies.
Right?
Yeah.
So
like Connery has the most movies.
I was gonna say I think it was based on how many years his time frame lapsed. He went the longest, like 15 years.
In terms of years, Daniel Craig served longest because it was 15 years.
Okay, but they just didn't pump out as many movies.
Sean Connery and Roger Moore are tied for the amount of films that they made as the character.
Which is how many?
Let's see, or no, not tied. They both had more movies themselves. Let me pull up the article. I was just reading the headline of the article, so.
But and even still, the one thing that they nailed, and granted, it's easy for me to say this because of them being made, more recently.
Yeah.
But really, Casino Royale was what, 2006? I mean, just to me, the production design and the elegance and decadence in which is embedded in those films. From again the style of his suits, the cars he's driving. I mean, of course you've got the classic Aston Martin,
right?
But even the action scenes, it all just seemed much more.
Oh, they are both 7. Sorry, they both had 7 movies as Bond.
Oh wow!
Roger Moore was the longest year-wise as well until Daniel Craig.
Okay,
but Sean Connery and Roger Moore both had 7 movies,
and Daniel Craig had 6.
Was it 6? I thought it was 5, but maybe 6.
Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, Spectre, Skyfall.
Spectre, and then No Time to Die.
No Time to Die. So 5.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I mean, at the end of the day, I just feel like that Craig kind of summed up a special time with Bond in a way in which if they do a major change with Aaron Taylor Johnson's Bond, we may have just got the last great series of Bond films. But who knows? Because even there, I didn't think Quantum of Solace was that great, but that
was the weakest.
It was the weakest, but then
Spectre wasn't very
I didn't think
great
Spectre
either.
was great either.
Actually, I think Spectre was the weakest. Quantum of Solace was just dull, but it didn't have
Skyfall's my favorite.
I still say Casino Royale, but then Skyfall. Yeah, Casino Royale, Skyfall, No Time to Die, and then
and even like revisiting No Time to Die. I guess maybe for its story elements of what they do, but I honestly look back and I'm like, I wasn't. I kind of felt the same way as it was kind of bland for me in terms of, action set pieces.
Yeah.
And it living up to what Bond had already represented with Daniel Craig in this series so far. But, I mean, all of that's getting into the weeds. My thing is I at least like the aesthetic that they went with. And, again, that raw, visceral nature of the rough and tumble that you got with Daniel Craig, but also the decadence and the class that you see in Casino Royale and all of the beautiful cinematography and all the different places he visits. I mean, it's just, again, it's world-class filmmaking. And I hope to get that kind of same style.
Now we'll go home and watch Casino Royale.
Yeah.
It's so good.
There's a line in that movie towards the beginning that, to me, pretty much like set the stage for who Daniel Craig's Bond was going to be. And that's when she says something about sometimes it requires a blunt instrument to get things done, and he's that blunt instrument.
Yep.
And I love that. Was like that set the tone for all of who his Bond was going to be.
Yep.
He can be the sexy, suave, good-looking guy, slick, clean-cut, rich, he has the wealth or at least the look, but he can also punch your lights out.
Yep.
And
if you need him
different.
He can shoot you or cut your throat.
That's right.
And be immediately turn visceral. Yeah. Yep. Just now I want to watch a bunch of Bond movies.
I felt like it made the whole license to kill mean something. Like the other movies, it's like, they're fighting bad guys and they drop a henchman here and there, but they never felt like they were out for blood. Whereas it's like when Bond gets, because the whole opening is him earning his 00 status and getting the license to kill. So I love that. It's just like it felt like this was a man who he used that license.
Yep. And all of the Bond franchise is available on Prime because they bought out MGM. So go watch it on there. I need to. I want to actually watch all of them, even though there's some misses, but I do. For the most part, they're
still fun. I mean, when you keep in mind, what they are and the time frame they're made and things like that.
Yeah.
It's I've had fun watching the old ones.
But let's move on to our final main headline of the evening, which happens to be the big news that, yes, George Lucas is standing with Disney and Bob Iger.
Yeah, and I was trying to remember, was this... Because I know about the whole coup that's been going on for since I think 2022.
It's been a while.
And I thought we had initially when it first started discussed it on the podcast, but I couldn't remember. Okay. Because it has been there's really been no more news about it, which is why we've not discussed it since then. But the guy that's coming in... who used to be with Disney back in the heyday before Bob Iger and such, and I forget the other guy that's
well, one of them is one that you've brought up multiple times that he's partnering with, which happens to be the guy that was ousted from Marvel.
Yes, that was the other guy I couldn't think of.
It's in the top of the article.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up.
Well, no, Peltz is the guy who initially brought forth he's kind of the one that's been...
He wants to be a board member, doesn't he?
Yes, and he's him and his company Trian Co. They're the ones that are kind of buttressing all of these. I would say they are politically motivated. Politically motivated is not the right word. It's the way they're handling the situation. But they are going out and basically bolstering this kind of support from the shareholders and saying that they want to replace members on the board and bring in themselves as well. They just want themselves to be on the board, which is Peltz and then after
Ike Perlmutter. Who was and I mean I do like to as much as again some of the I don't fully trust anybody from Hollywood, but I do like him and the former guy from Disney who's with them. As far as looking as the way they talk is about they want to run the business as a business, which I agree with. It's let's get out of the politics, let's get out of this crap, and it's just if it makes money, you do it. If it doesn't, you don't do it. And I'm like, okay, I respect that mentality if that's your honest mentality.
Evangelizing was the word I was thinking of. They've been evangelizing to the shareholders with tons and tons of money, bolstering their to push us in and vote with your because there's a vote that's coming up at the end of the month that will technically decide if they could become board members. Yes. And this is the same tactic they tried back then.
Yes. Jay Rasulo is who I was thinking of from Disney that's with them, the former Disney executive who himself has said he doesn't think Bob Iger should be leading Disney anymore. He thinks he's led them down the path they are, which we've talked about before. Yeah. And it's funny because, you mentioned now with this article with George Lucas throwing his hat in the ring. And, of course, he has his own stocks because he got them when he sold Star Wars to Disney. And he's like, oh, no, he basically had said he sold Star Wars because he did trust Bob Iger. In fact, I can pull up the Lucas said, you want me to go ahead and read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Creating magic is not for amateurs. When I sold Lucasfilm just over a decade ago, I was delighted to become a Disney shareholder because of my longtime admiration for its iconic brand and Bob Iger's leadership. When Bob recently returned to the company during a difficult time, I was relieved. No one knows Disney better. I remain a significant shareholder because I have full faith and confidence in the power of Disney and Bob's track record of driving long-term value. I have voted all of my shares for Disney's 12 directors and urge other shareholders to do the same. So basically, he's using all his shares to vote to keep the board as it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And then,
I mean, why throw a company into more turmoil with a change-up when you have a lot of stock in that company? But I mean, it's like I would want it to get better, not worse.
It's weird though, because you're right, and I could see I could see the safe tactic there that Lucas is maybe pinpointing or playing as, but at the same time, and maybe that's what he's betting on. He's staking the fact that, hey, as long as the ship doesn't go too much more overboard, because in the article, of course, it's from Deadline, and we'll have it linked in the description below. But, of course, at the very end of the article, they very much say, oh, yeah, Disney's about to hit its 52-week high. So it's been on the up and up for a year.
For a whole year. Yeah. Even though when you look at their trend year over year, it's been a constant downward trend.
That's right. That's right. Never mind that. Never mind the
bigger
picture.
Don't look year over year.
But 52 weeks is a year.
Yeah,
so not just one year.
Yeah, not just 1 year. Yeah.
But it's interesting because with these other two coming in, and who's to say that they're not in it either for their own riches and glory. But look, I think they're at least coming from the position of you all want to keep the same old, and you've seen what that is. Mm-hmm. The fact that you pandered to get Iger back when he was the one who even against your wishes still ushered in the Chapek era that lasted all of 8 months and drove it really terribly into the ground, the stock price. Mm-hmm. But now you have an instance of, you just want to keep the status quo, but also the status quo has not been, even if it reaches a milquetoast kind of stable level, that's not growth. I mean, look, Lucas is a longtime Hollywood player. He sold Star Wars back then, and granted, you could say, there was a lot of politicking going on, and there's been plenty of interviews where you've heard Lucas on the record basically say, well, if the fans don't like what I make, then I'm just not going to make it anymore. After a while, you just get tired of people pissing on what you make. Okay, fine, you little sourpuss. You just go pout in the corner with your $4 billion.
Now those fans wish they wouldn't have said that.
And that's probably the most disheartening thing about this is to see Lucas kind of have the little, that meme of him just sitting there like, yeah. It's like, it's so funny to see him possibly get the last laugh because of how atrocious Disney has been with his property under Kathleen Kennedy. But also, I think it's funny that this news came out the day they released this new
the Acolyte
trailer, which looks
like hot
awful.
garbage. Yeah.
God awful.
Yeah.
I mean, we showed just a preview of it in the news, and I was like, this doesn't even look like Star Wars.
It did. It looked like Rebel Moon.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. I was sitting there. I'm like, this looks like the knockoff.
It's actually Rebel Moon looks more like Star Wars than.
Yes.
I was like, y'all literally look like you're copying something that was a copy of you. Yeah. like we're now past the point of parody where you're parodying the parody.
So it's sad because I wanted to actually see Lucas make a return and say, let's bring your baby back to life. It's on life support right now. And now after hearing this, I'm like, no. You are the problem, as is everybody who wants to keep the status quo at Disney. It's this corporate overlord structure of let's not change anything. And again, it's always kind of, don't pay any mind to the man behind the curtain. Let's all keep everything the way it is. We'll quietly, suppress some of these things that have gotten us into trouble. All the DEI initiative and the LGBTQ stuff and fighting with Governor DeSantis. We'll keep all that on the DL. But ultimately, what it really comes down to is we want to keep businesses normal.
Yeah.
We want to find a better way to mask it, keep everything kind of, let's level the playing field, and we'll get back into a steady growth, stock price to the point where we can maybe come back and revisit this later, and then it'll all be subtly, instituted. I hate it because it's like, this is what you're seeing now. This to me, George Lucas has the same kind of attitude of all the freaking politicians that are 70 years old in Congress, and they don't know when to let go.
Yeah.
I think he also...
I'm just speculating, but it's like, what's to stop Bob Iger from saying, George, your name means something and your shares mean something. We're drowning here. Could you come out and say something? Sure.
Oh, yeah. I guarantee you that's exactly what happened.
Yep.
No doubt. I mean, that's why it's like, oh, yeah, the reason this made news is because it's like, oh, George Lucas supports Disney. Yeah. I mean, and it's so funny to even hear him come up with that stupid political, like, you could tell that was a statement made by a PR exec.
Oh, yeah.
That, his PR exec putting out a statement of, I sold Star Wars to Disney because I believe in the magic of Disney and Iger.
It's funny because I agree. It does feel like a ploy because, one, they know Star Wars fans vehemently do not like Disney Star Wars, and they do kind of wish for George Lucas to come back. So to have George Lucas give them the stamp of approval, it's kind of like them slapping Star Wars fans in the face and saying, hey, look, George likes us, so if he likes us, why don't you like us?
We'll know in a few years when the next Star Wars movie comes out and it was co-written by George Lucas.
Yeah.
Well, we'll know because it's already out. There's a viral video going out on X right now about the next Star Wars movie being written by this, like, prideful LGBTQ activist, and of course she wants to inject that in, and it's like, well, we already know what's on the wall for the next Star Wars movie. I mean, to me, Lucas could care less. He sold the rights back then. He's got shares in Disney, of course, but the dude's a billionaire. I mean, he's got nothing else. How old is he now? 78? I don't know. He's gonna croak. He doesn't care.
He don't.
This is contrived BS. Well, he doesn't give two craps about Disney or Star Wars and what they do with it. Not that
long ago, he was whining that they didn't use his scripts for episode 7, 8, or 9, and be like, "Well, I gave Disney outlines and this and that, and I told them, And he complained about some of the choices they made. So it's funny to see him come out now, and it's like, yeah, it's one of those things where he's like, "I got my money. I don't." He really doesn't give a crap.
And that whole line, that BS line of, "Oh, you don't want to hand that over to amateurs." I'm like, what the hell does that even mean?
The former CFO of Disney and the former president of Marvel are amateurs. They ran those companies. Like they ran the company.
And last I checked, it was your current CEO of Disney, Bob Iger, who was ushered back in because of the last failed CEO that he ushered in.
Yeah.
And this whole DEI nonsense that came into fruition under his reign. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's so loaded BS. I mean, this is the pretentious politicking side that you see when it's unveiled. This is the problem with Hollywood as a whole. You've got these big corporations. I mean, the same way you could be just as cynical and chide any other major corporation out there. I mean, look at, and I don't want to get too political on a tangent, but look at what happened this past week with Tyson Foods and the fact that they're firing like 20,000 workers in the freaking, I think it's in Iowa, was it? It's basically out in the middle of a Midwestern country or a state, and they're wanting to hire a bunch of illegals in the state of New York because, of course, they have the ability to do that there, and they're like, we want 20,000 more, because it's cheap labor.
Yeah,
it's like, no, these major corporations are the enemy of the people. They don't care about your interests. All they care about is a bottom dollar, and Disney has become every bit of what a Tyson's Food is, which is, we're going to create cheap, genetically modified food. And we're going to shove it down your gullet for the cheapest price possible. And it's Disney. Disney is the junk food now of the cinema industry. They just want to push crap out, and you want to be a consumer.
No, they've changed. They're going to focus on quality, not quantity.
Sure. So
starting with Inside Out 2. That's the start.
I mean, all I can say is
it's not a good start.
Hey, Bob Iger has made it sound like that's the starting point for this new quality over quantity. So if that comes out woke too, it's like, okay, Bob, what you
I can tell by the trailer that it's.
I know, absolutely, but that's why I think it's funny that like they're kind of touting that as this is Disney's return.
And ultimately, let's be honest, that's why they don't want the shakeup at the board.
Yeah,
because that's exactly what their premise is. They're coming in, they're like, we'll get rid, like you said, back to the basics of business.
Yeah,
we're gonna make stuff that people actually want to go see.
Yeah,
but right now it's all veiled. All you have to do is keep the status quo. The board is in the right place where they've been, where they have the people to set in pieces or in place the motion of the pieces that they of the chess game they want to play, and it ends up being this DEI nonsense with all this woke crap, subjectively interspersed. I mean, all they're doing behind the scenes is trying to be more crafty of how they go about doing it. That's all. That's the jig is up. We know what your game plan is, and you're not going to change it because you haven't fired anybody.
Yeah.
Nobody. There's been no accountability.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, Disney's going to continue to fail and to flail at the box office, and with more of this garbage they put out there, and so only time will tell. I mean, time ultimately is their greatest enemy at this point. If they don't right the course too soon, you are tarnishing and ruining a brand to the point where you won't be able to course correct. And yeah, you'll have those who are on top, funny enough, at the board, or even those shareholders. Look, George doesn't really care. He's already made his money. What's another couple billion he could throw on there if their stock does real well? At the end of the day, you're going to end up having those out on top. They're going to go out with their bankruptcy packages if Disney falls under, and you're going to have all those who are underneath it, and just this whole legacy of a great production company and a name of one of the best American culture creators at Walt Disney go down in flames.
So, and I don't know if you can include this link. I can send it to you for like the audio podcast or for anybody who wants to check it out at home, because I don't want to get into it all right here at the end. But Peltz they have a website, Treon and Peltz, restorethemagic.com, that explains exactly what they're trying to do, what their goals are. And they even have graphs and charts about Disney's margins and where they're at, how they're falling. And then they have this nice little table here that's really cool about Disney's current path, like what their business like goals and agendas are versus Treon's goals and what they want to do with the company. And it's really cool because, I mean, so far, like reading everything, I'm like, yeah, and granted, of course, Treon's going to make themselves sound like they're the good guys, but
they're pitching you.
But but as far as like the business aspects go, everything they have one here, I would agree. Like just one, like just
I say, can you just throw out a couple?
The one example, like corporate governance, Disney's current path: preserve as much of the status quo as possible by playing defense, evidenced by limited changes to compensation and succession processes. So Treon's goals is adopt best-in-class governance, finally complete a successful CEO succession, and align management pay with performance. So it's you don't just get paid for whatever, you get paid for performance.
Yep. Yeah.
Streaming profitability. Disney's current plan focused on achieving significant and sustained profitability, no guidance or tangible targets beyond break even. Their target is to target and achieve Netflix-like margins of 15 to 20% by fiscal year 2027. So they're setting actual goals that they need to achieve, whereas Disney's just like, well, we just got to break even. We just got to figure out a way to break even. It's like, well, you do that by setting sustainable goals.
And again, ultimately, like you're even saying there, I mean, they're pitching their goals.
Yeah.
But even that, it sounds like a sales pitch. Yeah. I mean, they don't have any tangible evidence as to how they can produce these.
These are the goals they want to set, but they still have to how they're going to.
Again, like in most cases, when you're faced with an alternative, if you're facing what has not worked up to this point or what has failed, what better chance is there than selecting an alternative? I mean, when you're facing uncertainty in the sense of where the future lies, and you see what has already been laid out ahead of you or what has been laid out in the past, and you're like, well, this isn't going anywhere anytime soon, that may be your best option, is for a change and a shakeup. And so, look, definitely send me that link. Yeah. We'll put it in the description below.
It's a very well put together.
Yeah, because they have.
This is apparently what this is why Lucas has come out, and of course, think about it. It's not only
they feel threatened. Yeah,
well, exactly. No wonder we're talking about it on a small show on YouTube, but why it's also in Variety, Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, all of these same outlets that are owned by the same big major conglomerate. The reason they're all covering it and they're putting it on blast that Lucas is in support of Iger is because they think that'll not only drum up enough support, but it'll scare the shareholders who don't really have much say or sway in the politics of the matter to just vote with Iger, vote with Disney as it currently is. And that's all they're hoping for. So unless you are a shareholder, which you would hope that they all do their due diligence in staying up to date on this, because, hey, it's your money that ultimately is at risk here of being lost the more that Disney's stock slips. But if you're really into wanting to know what the best path forward for this company is and to get it into the numbers of when they were acquiring Pixar and Marvel and Lucasfilm, those are the crowning achievements of Iger. But then when you realize what he ushered in behind that, or stealthily, that has only overtaken and become this dark behemoth within Disney that has just made it, again, it's been its own worst enemy. It's eaten itself alive. Because that's what the woke mind virus does. And once it festers and it gets out of control, the best thing you can do is come out and squash it as hard as you can. And sadly, it doesn't seem like the status quo that's in place at Disney is at any point currently trying to do that. So who knows? We know that the vote is going to take place later this month. We're going to have that link in the description below. You can make up your own mind about it as to what you think. And obviously... we're on the side of some change, some corporate structure change at Disney.
And I'm not saying, again, because, they both, Ike Perlmutter and Razzolo, who was the former financial officer at Disney during, the 90s, they've been in the Hollywood business for years themselves. So I'm not saying I fully trust them either, but I do feel like I trust them more to run a business as a business than...
Yeah.
So...
Well, and again, it's like any... you can call them opportunists and that they're just trying to get their seat at the table to get a bigger piece of the pie. But again... You have to, perform. Yeah. And if you don't, then I'll be calling for their ouster too.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's absolutely ridiculous if you think that, Disney can withstand the current state of affairs, so we don't want to give it to amateurs. But then at the same time, it's like, well, where there's risk, there's also reward.
Yeah. And they're not necessarily amateurs. It's right. The website points out all of the boards that Peltz had served on previously.
Yeah.
And all of the immense amount of money that he's helped make them, especially it talks about Procter & Gamble. That's one of the biggest household names. Your toothpaste is made by them. Mm-hmm. Everything is made by them. And it's while he was on the board, their profits increased 11% is what it says. He's got,
Something tells me if the woke elites that work at all of these major publications, and especially that we've seen from Disney, are against them taking over.
Probably a good thing.
Probably a good thing. Yeah, they actually should probably take over the company.
Yeah.
So who knows? That's up to the shareholders to decide and who their votes go for. We'll find out at the end of this month and the beginning of April. We'll keep tabs on it and let y'all know.
Well, but all of Lucas's went against it. So.
Yeah. He's the voice of wisdom. Yeah. Yep.
The man who made Jar Jar Binks.
Hey, but he didn't make Last Jedi.
That's true.
All right, it's got to come after.
He gave us that.
He did. I hate sand. All right, let's move into our story time segment.
It's story time, where the podcast members tell their stories.
All right. I don't know what the timestamp is, but I was going to try to get this out. I completely forgot to do it at the top of the show.
Uh-oh.
Happy birthday, Megan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's her birthday today. Our good friend in Boston, Neil's wife, Megan.
Yeah.
Megan, she's up there probably.
She's a mommy.
She's a mommy. She's tending to her child.
Her first birthday as a mother.
That's
Aww.
it. Aww. You gave birth. So never mind.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, wait, you had a birthday, and now you've given a birthday.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
that was terrible.
I don't even know what to hit for that.
She's a birthing parent.
Yeah,
sure.
she's a birthing person. That's right.
Birthing person.
I was trying to be witty. And
she did always say her favorite parts of the show were the unique segments. So
That's
I guess
why
maybe
I said,
maybe
let's
it's
get to
fitting
that for her birthday.
Yeah. I hopefully she does hear it.
Yeah.
But if not, and then obviously I know if Neil was here and she was even up and heard this, she'd be like, he'd go to bed. He'd tell her to go to bed. Yeah. But no,
well,
we
they
got
have
a
baby
good.
Now. It's a little harder. They go to bed when it lets.
That's true.
When go feed my baby.
Now they have an excuse.
When
to
Noah
watch
lets
the show.
them go to bed, they go to bed.
Yeah. Now they have an excuse to watch the show. No, we got a great story time segment. We're talking about a major release you were extremely excited for.
This is actually one I don't have to think about because there's so many.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, I'm just like, there's always ones where I'm like, I don't know, but I mean.
I have one in particular that it's the only one I'm going to say.
Go for it.
Go
for
Transformers.
First. Okay.
Wow.
That's fair.
Okay.
Yeah, that was
the first one, yeah.
The first movie, and it let me down. I was really excited for it when I heard that they were making a live-action Transformers film that's my childhood was Transformers. No other toy, show, nothing in my life compares to what Transformers was for me. So like I just, when I heard that they were making a Transformers movie, didn't know anything about, didn't care if it was Michael Bay, didn't care who was in it. I thought this is it. This is the highlight of my life. Like it's even having a child someday is not going to compare to this movie.
Dang.
Like I was that excited for it. And I was wrong. Yeah. So
I mean, the first one I liked, but I mean,
no, I liked it.
It doesn't compare to the 80s animated.
It did not fulfill the excitement and the stuff from my childhood that I wanted.
There was no Ba Weep Gran on Ninny Bon. There was none.
Hey, Sawyer and Andrew are happy to hear you say that.
And
they're
more important.
Yeah,
that's right.
Only by a little bit.
Yeah,
though. It could have. I mean, Shia LaBeouf was a shining spot in that movie.
I think
I actually liked
it was American Pie with Transformers. That's how I look at it.
Dang,
it was just a teenage perverted movie with Transformers.
And I think it worked the one time, not well, but enough for it to exist, and then they just kept going with it.
Yeah.
Still, just put the cube into my chest.
Yes. Well, it became more about him and his parents and the comedic aspect of it than it did the Transformers. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was Michael Bay. Again, CGI action fest.
And hot women bending over cars and stuff like that. I'm just like, this isn't Transformers.
Hey, at least it was pre-plastic surgery Megan Fox.
Mm-hmm. She needs to get them thumbs fixed, dude. Before you
get focus on her thumbs.
Before
have you never seen her
got toe thumbs?
Yeah,
no,
they do.
Yes.
Yeah, they look
I'm
like toes.
Before you get any other plastic surgery, get thumb extensions.
They need to take the fat out of her thumbs and put it in her
There's
face.
They're not fat.
Again.
They're
not fat.
The bone,
They're
like
short.
they're just stubby.
Stupid.
Can y'all pull up a picture of?
Yeah.
Yes, she has toe thumbs. That's what they're called. They look like a big toe.
I think Transformers was a good one. I was excited about that one. Not most anticipated excited.
This is great. We're gonna look at Megan Fox's
thumbs. I do. I want to throw
She's not the only actress out there that's got them. That's creepy, but hers were just extremely noticeable.
This one's got it circled and everything.
Oh yeah. Pull that up. Point it up to the camera.
It is. It's like a toe thumb. It's
well, it's not focusing really.
That's not the closest picture either.
Right. Well, I mean, they don't really have many that are like zoomed in.
I guarantee you, there's some
there's
that are
one.
zoomed
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, that looks like my big toe hanging on the end of her hand. Hold on, let me.
I want to see it.
Except for the hairy knuckle.
Oh,
well, I'm trying to get there.
There better not be no hair.
There's no hair. There's no hair.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's AI.
No,
dude,
that's
her thumb.
Yes,
Google not
just
a big
Google it.
toe.
Yeah, no,
Google it.
This is before, back in.
This is before AI.
When Transformers came out, like Michon and Neil talked about it.
Yeah.
Like,
this
it was
is like a daggone
look at her thumbs.
It looks like somebody hit. It's like a cartoon hammer.
I remember
that.
staying. At the very first house Sean lived in Bardstown, I remember me, Neil, and him like hanging out, and we had the whole conversation about Megan Fox's thumbs.
I guess she thought nobody would see those.
I'm surprised you didn't already know. It's been a big thing for years. Yeah,
Oh.
Everybody makes fun of her thumbs, man.
I'm just gonna call her like Megan Toe Thumb.
Toe Thumb.
She's Megan Toe Thumb. Her and MGK.
But yeah, I would say I could think of 3 for me significant movies that I was highly anticipated upon their release. And
this didn't have to be movies either. It could have been releases of in general.
Oh well,
books, movies, games,
all kinds of those.
Yeah.
The 3 movies just quickly would be obviously Return of the King. By the time that came around, I was ready for it. The first Avengers, because that was the first. Like being a huge Marvel fan and comic book fan, I watched that movie like 5 times in theaters. Like that's how much I was just excited because like something like that had never been like on the screen before. And then I had a huge excitement and it went nowhere. Obviously, Disney ruined it too. The Force Awakens, I was extremely excited for because it was the return of Star Wars. But
we got to retcon some of those episodes that I know when we reviewed.
Yeah. That's what I was going to get.
Because here's the thing, we
like them when you come out of the theater.
Yeah, and honestly,
I still would say Force Awakens I enjoyed. It just went nowhere.
It's weird because I think Neil was the only person, because I remember seeing it twice, and the second time was with Neil, and I remember him having the opinion that he was the only person that I probably read afterward, and his face did not lie. He was not impressed.
Yeah, he was not.
And he was disappointed. And
he was right. He said it was a rehash of New Hope, and it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I still would
But that's the weird thing is that's like he was somebody whose opinion that I agree with now, but back then I was wanting it to be more than well, and I remember I hyped it up because I wanted it to beat Avatar at the time as like top rating movie, and it didn't. And now I look back, and I'm
Endgame did.
I'm glad it didn't. Yeah, Endgame deserved it.
Yeah.
But no, it's funny because when it comes to movies, oh man, I mean, I can just think of all the midnight releases that we've gone to see when they were actual midnight releases.
And you were actually excited about them,
right?
Before Marvel ruined itself,
right? Or before they came out with like 8:00 Thursday showings, and I'm like, I mean, I like that better now because I'm an old guy, old man trying to get to bed on time. But even still, it was nice that you felt like you were part of a community when you would go out and see them at midnight. But I remember that for so many movies, whether it be Interstellar, Iron Man 2. I remember going to see midnight release.
People dressed up.
And I more associate like major releases oddly with games.
Okay.
To me, I get more amped up and excited. I remember going and getting Metal Gear Solid 4 midnight release.
Oh man, that was a great game though.
And I had to be at work the next day at 5:30 a.m. So I literally just came home. I had to put it in and at least start it up. And I remember starting it and I played it till like 3 a.m. I got like 2 hours. That day I went in the bathroom and like fell asleep on the toilet roll dispenser. It was not good. I was struggling that day. But it was well worth it because then I came home and played more Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Plus, it took like a half hour for it to install anyway back then.
Yeah.
But then also, I remember the midnight release of the PS4.
Yeah.
And getting that and actually going to GameStop and like taking it home and it was the first time I'd been part of something where, it was. Like it was like well organized. Like before, it used to be like, well, you may not get one.
Yeah,
and which I always look back on now, and I'm like, well, no wonder people got murdered over this crap. Like this is a terrible way to do this. It was awful. But I remember just even like my brother. It was kind of funny. One vivid one I had was it was the midnight release of Modern Warfare 3.
Yeah,
and
I was gonna say 2.
Also,
I stood in line for that one.
Oh, you did? You got that? But Modern Warfare 3 was coming out, and it was actually the same day as Metal Gear Solid, the HD collection for the PlayStation 3. And I was in hope that I could get that because I had already pre-ordered it, even though it technically was not what everybody was there for. I was like,
they were there for
hopefully
Call of Duty.
I could. So I told my brother I was going to go up there and just get that, and he was like, why wouldn't you be able to get it? I was like, well, they're doing a midnight release for Modern Warfare 3, and he was like, I'll go. Like, I'll get it. Because we had already played, Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2. And my brother at the time, like, that was the one game he would enjoy.
Yeah.
So, I remember we got up there, we get in line, and there's, of course, this huge, long line. And he was just like, I should have not done this. He was like, this is not my scene. He was, like, totally embarrassed by it. And, of course, if you know Chip, my brother, it makes sense. But, yeah, it was fun. I don't know, memories like that. And I was actually working the third shift at the time, and I remember we came home and I actually fired up Metal Gear just because I wanted to see what it looked like. But then we put in Modern Warfare 3.
Ended up playing that.
And playing that before I had to leave for UPS third shift.
Yeah, I think like as far as like non-movies, the biggest release for me probably was the 7th Harry Potter book.
That's what I was going to ask. Would it have been one of those? Yeah.
Because that me and Neil is funny because I went with the Singletons on vacation one year to Florida. And that was when the book came out.
Yeah, I remember that.
And me and Neil literally went to Walmart for the midnight release, bought the book, went back to the Singletons' house to leave for Florida because like they drove through the night. So we left at like midnight so we'd get there early in the morning or whatnot, straight through. And like, bought the book, went back to the Singletons, got loaded up, left, read the entire way down. Like I don't think me and Neil spoke hardly at all to each other, but maybe a few words like the entire ride. We just read all the way, and then like the first few hours we were in Florida, we sat in our room and read until like we finished like both of us that book. Like
that's insane.
Yeah.
You finished the whole novel that in one sitting. Like, that night?
We read like all the whole.
That's crazy.
The whole trip to Florida, and then however like the first few hours there or whatever, and then we spent the rest of the week
for that kind of time.
Yeah.
I mean, and you could do that with a book. I mean, now you can do it portably with stuff.
We went to Destin, I think, and it was a 12-hour ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was long. It was a long
ride.
Yeah.
I mean, me and my dad went. Like, I'm pretty sure we were on that trip because I remember y'all getting the book.
Get the book
and read it, and
because that's the thing. I mean, and I know
Derek Carpenter went too, didn't he? Didn't the Carpenters go and meet everybody there?
I don't think that was the year I went. If at the Carpenters,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I went on one trip where Neil bought a Harry Potter book and read it the whole way there, and he finished it before we.
That's crazy.
Yeah, got started.
But I mean, you could. I mean, if you're a pretty decent fast reader, you don't get bored of reading.
I mean, that's there's like a 12-hour straight, and then I mean maybe closer to 16, adding on the few hours that we spent.
Well,
first there,
and that's the crazy part is, I mean, if you think like audiobook wise, they're typically around that length anyway, 14, 15 hours, and it's like, well, you just
if you got the time to just do it straight, it was great.
My sister was the same way. She was into the Harry Potter books, and I remember like she got pissed at me because I didn't know anything about Harry Potter. I'd heard the term like Horcrux. And
did you spoil something?
Well, I didn't know it was a spoiler, and it didn't spoil nothing. But I just I came out and I was like, yeah, I know how the 7th book ends. She was like, no, you don't. And I was like, yeah, it has something to do with Horcruxes. She's like, shut up. Shut up right now. She got pissed and she said, Mom, and she yelled and she was like, Brandon is about to ruin something. And I was just like, I don't know nothing else. Yeah, I threw out one thing.
I knew one word.
That was it.
Oh, so, no, I remember
to scare her and make her.
I had, the series is old and the movies are old now, so this isn't a spoiler, whatever. But I had Dumbledore's that spoiled for me because we had a Halo night.
I remember.
Yeah, we had a Halo night at the church. And it was after I think it was after one of our youth meetings or something that we were setting things up to just hang out. Or I don't remember fully. I just remember
Tristan?
that. No, Nicole Ray was there. She wasn't staying for Halo night or hanging out with us. She just happened to be there before leaving or whatever. And she literally picks up. I had brought my book with me to read during the times that I wasn't playing Halo or whatever. And she literally picks it up and starts just throwing through it. And then she goes, oh, Dumbledore dies? And I'm just like, well, thanks.
Oh, man. You wanted to kill her, didn't you?
Neil, I thought because Neil had already read it before I finished. And he was just he gave her this look I can't believe you just did. He looked more pissed than I was that she it was he looked worse than me.
See, mine all revolve around Metal Gear, because Metal Gear Solid 3 was another one that I was just super hyped about. And I remember it came out freshman year. That was just a golden year, because that was GTA San Andreas, Halo 2 dropped, these major huge game franchises. But I remember I called up every game store around us, and none of them had it. So I guess they just weren't anticipating a huge. And then I called up the GameStop, which it was EB Games at the time, and they were like, "Yeah, we got a box in." I was like, "All right, I'll be up there." And they're like, "They wouldn't care." I was like, "Okay, come get it."
It's don't you sell any until I get there.
Right. But I remember I had to convince my dad, and my dad, he didn't really care or know, but I had. One, he had to drive me, of course, but I also had I needed him there because it was a rated M game.
Yeah.
And they weren't going to sell it to me unless I had an adult there. And thankfully it was
I need an adult.
Yeah. But I remember that was a huge game. And of course I was just stoked to play that one. And it's
Killzone
crazy.
2 was, out of any game that's ever been released, that was probably the one that I was excited and anticipated the most.
Really?
Was Killzone 2. It's the greatest first-person shooter campaign game I've ever played.
Wow, that's saying something. Holy crap!
For me, it has an amazing story, amazing voiceover.
But damn,
the opening scene is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
For me, it would have been Halo 3, and that one killed me because I couldn't get it on launch because it was closer to Christmas. So
oh, you knew you were getting it?
Well, I did get it for Christmas, but it was they let me rent it from Hollywood Video.
Really?
Yeah, they did let me rent it, but they wouldn't buy it, and I'm like, I already know why you won't buy it. But I mean,
okay,
because I think it came out in November. I don't remember, but I remember getting the chance to rent it and play it until I actually got it.
And I know that we've already covered this in another previous. I can't remember if it was a story time or not. Christmas present, but I will say, as far as releases go, also just anticipating the night before Christmas, there were just so many Christmases where I had an inclination of knowing what I was going to get, and then when you get it though, it's just that, from the iPhone, PSP to PlayStation 2, even honestly PS3 was a surprise, but just tons of great releases out there that, like you said, you get that surprise and nothing like it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, right there at the bottom of your screen, whenever I decide to put it up, all of our favorite social media icons. Red Moon Book on Facebook, Red Moon Tweet on X, Red Moon Pics on Instagram, and of course, search for Red Moon Productions on both YouTube and on Rumble. We want to thank you all so much for tuning in, and there is always that old-fashioned way of reaching out to us. Keith knows it, but
your dog's grunting at me.
She is getting antsy.
Oh, here she comes.
There it is.
You want to do the email with me, Edie?
Yeah.
You want to go play basketball?
Yeah.
Basketball?
Oh, she wants a basketball. See?
Yeah.
I'm training her.
Yeah.
We're gonna be on the court tomorrow at 5 a.m.
Slam dunking.
It's like, you better run. You're running laps if you don't hit it. That's right. What is that old-fashioned way of reaching us?
RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
Every time, man. I'm just telling you, just shiver up my leg.
Place the cube into my chest.
That's so good. Alrighty, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And look at him over there. Oh, it's out of focus. It can't even focus on you.
I was going too fast. I didn't know what to focus on.
Patty cake.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.